Play and Trade Guitars is giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul to one of you. How to enter? Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars on YouTube and we'll give it away when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John and that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. Make sure you're subscribed. We're giving away this beautiful Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul over my shoulder. But today I'm about to tell you about a guitar haul that we just brought in that I am so excited about. Went up to Wisconsin and brought home 4 guitars that I can't wait to show you. We're going vintage Fender today, early 80s. I've got a case right here. Now, if you're aware, Fender got a slightly bad reputation in the 70s for poor quality control. They're making more guitars than ever under the leadership of CBS once they were purchased. And by the end of the 70s, people were starting to take notice that the classic 50s designs of the Strat were actually more popular with professional players than a lot of these 70s style Strats, which we'll talk about. This is that turning point. Fender got into a rut to the point that they said, we gotta do something about this, and they wanted to come out swinging, so they came out swinging with this brand new design that incorporated vintage and modern elements called the Strat. Here it is, the Strat, 1981 in this example, in unbelievable condition. So what makes this guitar special? Fender changed the design under CBS leadership of the Strat in the 70s to 3 things that you'll recognize immediately when you're talking 70s Strats. Big, fat, large headstock, bullet-styled truss rod above the nut, and 3-bolt construction attaching the neck to the body itself. This was the first time that Fender actually hired away executives from Yamaha. The Japanese guitars that were being made in the 80s, 70s and 80s were so good that Fender took notice and said, we've got to put our heads together to get back to what we were doing best in our heyday prior to CBS. And this is the first return of vintage features on a Strat after that CBS changeup, and it represents such an important historic point in Fender's timeline. These are known as Dan Smith era Strats, so from approximately 1980 to 1984, or in there, meeting in consultation with these new execs, they basically said, let's get back to what we used to do best. And a few changes you'll notice right out of the gate is the 50s style Strat headstock. And when you look at this, it looks so modern. It looks like what we're used to seeing in a Strat. Well, this is the first time that they kind of went to this design that now we're all really used to. We've got the 50s style headstock. If I flip it around, we've got the return of the 4-bolt neck plate for the first time after having the 3 style. And then they also made a big change with these necks. It has, first of all, the neck has more of a feel of a classic 50s Strat, and they did away with the bullet truss rod that you'd see in the 70s and went back to the vintage style where you actually have to take the neck off to adjust it. Now, they wanted to give an homage to the classic vintage specs of those great 50s Strats that people were still playing and making famous. They wanted to go all out and prove that they were in all the way on the Stratocaster and come out swinging. So they debuted this guitar at NAMM in 1980, and they only made them for a few years. Why? It was so expensive to make this guitar. They went all out to the point that they couldn't make any money on them. And now they have become collector's examples. This one is in perfect condition, nearly, in Lake Placid blue, metallic finish. A few things to check out. These Fender knobs right here, and this brass super large extra sustaining bridge that they built, this is decked out in jewelry grade gold. This is actual gold on this hardware that eventually became so expensive for Fender to make that it was just impossible to make any money on them. Another feature which was revolutionary and really something very interesting is that it has a 2-way rotary switch in place of the second tone. And what that did is it opened up 4 additional tones. But getting this out of the case, I just want to say I am so happy to get an example that is this clean. This comes from the estate of a gentleman who loved 2 things. He loved guitars and cars. Big shout out to Joe for hooking us up with this collection and letting us honor his brother's memory. This is one of those pieces that we are really happy to be featuring here on the channel. And this beauty is gonna go on the bench. We're gonna take it apart and talk specs. And then our main job is to plug it in and play it. So let's head to the bench and then get ready to play this thing. I cannot wait. All right, I got the strings loosened up. I got a capo helping me do my job here. And I'll go ahead and start loosening this neck plate up. Neck plate is also 22 karat gold, so you might want to hold on to that one. Again, return to the 4-bolt. So if I hold up my 70s example, this is a reissue, but if I hold this up, You'll remember from the 70s that you got the 3-bolt pattern. There's a big slug at the bottom and 2 standard screws here. And Fender ditched this with this redesign and went back to a gold-plated 4-screw pattern, just like the 50s and pre-CBS examples that people were familiar with. So what this originally basically was working its way towards under the design changes. This is the first iteration of that kind of return to vintage spec with modern. And there was a period, unbelievably, after Dan Smith and Fender worked on getting this right, there was a period of a few years where American production of Strats completely shut down and they were only made by Fender Japan. That's incredible when you think about that there's a few years there, and those have really now become the golden era of Fender Japanese collectible guitars, ST62 Strats and the TL52s and Bolin TL62s, super collectible, super high quality stuff. The Fender was paying attention to that and they were listening and trying to get it right. This was that long strange trip that they were taking to get there. And under the direction of Dan Smith and the realization that Fender should go back to what they do best, they kind of reclaimed their quality standards. And this guitar is probably one of the best Strats ever made, just because they really went out of their way to spare no expense to prove that to everybody. Carefully let this neck slide out of the pocket here. See, return to vintage style truss rod adjustment, where you have to take the neck completely off, or at least loosen it significantly to be able to adjust the truss rod. And this is all original back here. First thing I love, if you can get a close look here, it's actually initialed and then dated March 20th of 81. So that gives us a production date. We also have 81 in wax pen here on the bottom of these black bottom pickups. Look at how many wiring connections go to this space age looking rotary switch that they installed in place of the classic tone. But you can see how much time this would have to spend on the bench to get soldered up and to get soldered up correctly. So you can't really make this guitar quickly. And then pot dates, we've got 13781. This guitar weighs in at 8.5 pounds. So we've got a 21 fret vintage style maple neck. Frets are in great shape. We measure in at 1.6 inches at the brass nut. The first fret measurement brings us to 0.89 inches, and at the 12th fret, we are at 0.95 inches. 7.6 on the bridge, 7.1 on the middle, and 5.8 on the neck. Standard 5-way selector switch, and when we plug it in, we'll talk about those extra tones that you unlock with that rotary switch. This guitar, just holding it in my hand here, it's got a good ring to it. It's got a great feel in the hands. So I'm really excited to see the condition that even the frets are in. I mean, look at this. There's like no pitting. I'm going to put a guitar strap on, get this thing plugged in, and we'll do it. So we're going to take a minute and explain the 2-way rotary switch, which is incorporated into the Strat. It gives you 4 additional tones. So remember that the Strat has a standard 5-way pickup selector switch, and we're going to show you how to unlock 4 additional tones for a total of 9. And we do that via this tone control down here has been replaced from a standard Fender tone control to a 2-way rotary switch. Trying to impress you back then. It's impressive, although confusing now, but let's get behind a track and see how this guitar sounds in a variety of these contexts. Can't wait to do it. Let's check it out. sure you're subscribed to Play and Trade Guitars, because next time we'll give you another look at an amazing guitar, maybe one of these hanging on the wall behind me. We'll see you next time. Be subscribed to win that Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul, and be subscribed for weekly content. Another guitar demo coming at you soon. Check out our factory tours and our on-the-scene content, and Zach and I will see you in the next video. Be real. Thanks a lot.